Ever feel like you're doing everything, but losing touch with yourself? Welcome to Well Connected with Dr. Elizabeth Hafer. This is your space to slow down, tune in, and realign. We'll talk health, relationships, purpose, and the truth behind what it really means to feel whole. Because alignment isn't just for your spine, it's for your life. Let's reconnect. Let's realign. Let's get well connected.
Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Elizabeth Hafer with the Well Connected podcast, and I am back with one of my favorite guests, Jonathan Morrison. In previous episodes, you heard his story about where he came from, how much the Blair upper cervical chiropractic correction made a difference in his life, and kind of who motivated him to keep going. But today, I actually want to talk about where he's at and where he's going in his life and his professional career, and kind of what has been going on the last couple of months, because I feel like in the last 6 months, things have really taken a turn for the better. So Jonathan, thanks for being on the podcast again with me.
Thanks for having me here. Thanks for fixing me.
You're welcome. So where have you been? I haven't seen you around here, which is actually a good thing. When I don't see people very often, it means that I know they're out living their life with their heads on straight and living their life in alignment. It was just a tagline of Well Connected. And it's kind of cool that you're not here every week like you once were.
Yeah, I wish you were closer, because honestly, I still would be here quite often. But no, it's been, I would say, every day has been a little bit of a step forward. There's definitely days that are steps back, but for the most part, I feel like I've just had my head down for the last few months, just trying to get to a place where I could build bandwidth, because I think that was probably the toughest part. As I continued to get better, obviously it was better than it was, but I would find myself putting everything I had into a project or a video, and just the recovery wasn't there. So something might, take 2 weeks to do, but then I'd need a week to recover. Right. So I've just been trying to get to a place where I can do the work and then not crash or burn out after.
What I noticed in the last interview that we did was that I feel like this is the first time you've been present and not foggy headed and not kind of checking out a little bit. And what you're speaking to is capacity. So your nervous system over these last 2 years have had so many reps. And I always like to say this, reps get results. You've had so many reps of good input that you finally have the ability to hold capacity. And what you went through it will never change. You had a really tough journey and a really gnarly health crisis, but your capacity to hold that and be able to move forward in health has grown tremendously. So speak to what that looks like in your everyday life now. What do you get to be a part of? What projects are you excited about?
Yeah, I think with it being the 2-year point of us on our journey together, because I include you as a part of that. Yeah. I would relate it to, 2023 to most of 2024 felt like I had, both feet in the doors of hell. Then it was 24 to 25 was getting a foot out, and it finally feels like I have both feet out this time around. So I've been able to get back into work and get back into training. So with that 2-year point, I kind of decided to go psycho on, supplements, diet, which has all kind of helped. But I think the most important thing that I'll keep emphasizing is none of it would have mattered if I didn't get our first steps out of the way. Yeah. So just been able to get to a place to, make videos, work on music, train. I think the silliest thing that I could say right now, because there's kind of 2 parts to the health run, obviously our 2-year point. I don't know when this airs, but I've kind of created a semi, artificial deadline in my head because one of my friends had written a song about the Tom Holland Spider-Man series. So the new movie comes out the 31st of July. Okay. So I don't know when this releases, but that was the deadline for us to get the song finished, to get it out. And then as a byproduct of that, we wanted to get movie grade Spider-Man suits. Nice. Yeah. So.
Hey, let's go. And remind me again, it's Jonathan and Friends. Yeah. That's your music channel, because you kind of have like this passion of debuting all kinds of cool products.
Yeah. On your... My main thing is obviously tech and YouTube,
tech
but
and YouTube,
I feel like I love music the most.
So if you go back in some of the episodes, we flew to St. Augustine, Florida, and we did, I called it the Jonathan and Friends chiropractic version. And we got to meet with Dr. Kevin Peck at his office, and we got to go down memory lane and kind of talk about where we came from and how we all got to know each other and how it all came together. It's fun to see you getting back into music. I know there was a couple of times in the early years you brought a guitar and it literally just sat there because you wanted to play it. You just didn't have the capacity yet.
Yeah, it was weird. I had to relearn because it's such an interesting thing. Obviously, something becomes second nature, but there's moments, especially, obviously there's a period where I couldn't play, period, and then you go to pick it up, and then there's like a delay from your hand to your brain, and it's like, why won't you work? So it's been nice to get back into it, and I'm excited for all of it.
So with all the things you're into and reintroducing yourself to, would you say that it feels more easeful? Would you say that even though you had to relearn some certain things, does it feel like it's easier than it even was before you got sick?
There's probably a multitude of things. Obviously, putting myself in a position where it's not as hectic and chaotic, because stress, I think was a big factor in everything. So being in a position where it's a little bit more in my control has been nice. But in a lot of ways, I do feel like it feels like my brain blue screened, which is a Windows reference.
I actually know what that is, okay? And I'm proud of that one.
Yeah, heck yeah. And it feels like, there's certain things that I have to live with. There's always going to be scarring in my eye. There's always going to be things that, may never fully get to 100%. But in a lot of ways, I do feel that I'm better in, other aspects, especially like cognitively with my brain. And part of it is just being focused on it and taking it so seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I do feel, obviously there's certain aspects that I won't be 100%, but there's a lot that I feel maybe 110, which is a weird thing to say.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What I'll say about my journey with you from the clinician's perspective is that you made me put the reps in and being able to explain what I was doing. And now it comes off effortlessly when I get to talk to new patients, and I have a lot more confidence in being able to tell them the doctory thing in a way that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, I went through this diplomate program and I stuffed my brain full of all of this incredible knowledge, but you challenging me to explain it to you so that you could go home and really understand it for yourself helped me craft my ability to communicate more effectively. So I appreciated that from the perspective of being a doctor, to be able to let people know like what it is that we do, or maybe what I do. I can't speak for everyone, but
yeah, I just think, like I told you a million times, I think you underestimate how impressive it is, just because like to some extent, I feel like, obviously Blair is amazing and chiropractic, I think, can get a bad rap in certain situations, but I've told you many times, it almost feels like an undersell for what you do, just because it's so vast.
Yeah.
And I just want people to see that. And I think that's always been my goal with the things that I do, is to try to take something complex and how can I make it digestible to where anybody could understand it. And I think we get along because we're both nerds, in different and similar ways. But I think ultimately a nerd is a nerd, and we all kind of flock together.
Yeah, we sure do. We find each other. The familiar find each other.
Yeah.
But what questions do you have for me? Because you've kind of stopped asking questions because I don't get to see you very much. So what do you want to know?
I mean, show me what's been interesting this year in the world of Blair. I mean, what's something new that has been exciting for you?
I think just continuing to advance the imaging, the cone beam CT technology, and really getting exceptional at the analysis of that. I'm in the process of training a new rad tech here in the office, and she came from an office that did digital x-ray. So letting her jump from that technology to this, it's like mind blowing to watch her be like, oh my gosh, look at that clarity. And oh my gosh, look at those 3D images. And then, we're now starting to have machines that can do flexion extension and take a cone beam within the same sector. So people like Dr. Tyler Evans out in New Hampshire and Dr. Becky Ellis, who are my dear friends in the Blair world, they have the amazing command of this, burgeoning technology that's going to give us even more understanding about the biomechanics of what's happening in the neck, stuff that we always thought we knew, but now we can actually see and prove it. So that's exciting for me. I got to go to South Carolina in the spring and study with the leading research scientist, Dr. Jeffrey Iliff, on brain compliance and cerebrospinal fluid flow. So talk about nerding out.
That sounds sick.
I know. And I wish you were there because you would have
Probably nerded out.
You would have nerded out, and you would have had everybody in that room in tears telling stories about how, like, what your experience with the actual application of the science that we do and how it transforms people's lives. So are you working on any projects where you're continuing to craft messages where people have access to understanding this stuff?
Yeah, I think ultimately all of this is aligned, and as much as it's Spider-Man, it's a 2-year update. And I think, it's always revisiting what we did and being able to explain it in a better place.
Yeah.
I think I've learned so much. I mean, I've sent you little updates of just like, everything that I've asked and I've learned with you, and just understanding, first that it was cranial nerve 6 or how it impacted my eyes or my vagus nerve, and understanding that's why my heart rate was locked at a higher rate. And then being able to take that knowledge, track it, and know that, hey, in 2024, my resting, sleeping heart rate was in the 70s, and now I'm in the high 50s to low 60s.
Incredible.
So to take all that info and document it and then have tangible data, I think is fun.
Absolutely.
Which is why I nerd out over it.
100%. And the other thing that I think is really important to speak to is the concept of all processes take time. It's one of the chiropractic principles for those of us who love the philosophy of chiropractic. And we have 33 principles that we kind of like live by. And one of them is that all processes take time. And I say this a lot, reps get results. So if we put the reps in, you're going to change your neurology. And we have a neuroplastic system, which means we can change. So good or bad, what reps are we putting in? And so I think understanding that this is a journey, and I never expected that where you are today was going to happen in 3 months or 6 months, because we had to undo all those layers of dysfunction and kind of erase that road that was burned into your neurology and replace it with a better road, a better bridge, better highways. And you sent me a picture the other day. It was like a side-by-side comparison of like what you looked like in 2023 versus now, 2026. I know this is not going to be evergreen. I'm dating it, but what that showed me was how much healthier one can become when they're committed to staying structurally aligned and doing the work to heal your neurology. And when we first met, after I figured out who you were, and I do air quotes if you're not watching me on video, because again, I did a little work on him. He got this amazing Blair correction. And then, I don't know, a couple months in, he posted a video on his YouTube channel. Within an hour, 1 million views happened. And I had 30 new patients from all over the world. And I was like, wait, who are you? And so I just kind of went and looked you up, and I was like, oh, and then I went down the rabbit hole, and I wasn't looking at your content to learn about all the tech stuff. While I find it fascinating, that's the world you live in. And I appreciate there are people like you who can teach people like me how to do fun stuff with tech. I barely know how to hit the mic turned on, you know what I mean? So, although I did it professionally today, I'll tell you.
You at least looked cool.
I did look cool when I turned my mic on. So, maybe there'll be bloopers of that somewhere. Anyways, what I appreciate is that you helping me understand this stuff from your perspective. I was able to go down the path of like, when did you really get sick? And I remember texting you, it would probably be 10 to 30 at night. I was like, oh, I just watched this episode from 2015. And this is where I noticed your cranial nerve 7 changed in your face. And then I would be like, oh, I saw your eyes do this. So then we're talking 3, 6, 4. And you're like, oh my gosh. And so I kind of told your story through your neurology, and nobody had ever looked at you that way. And many people don't want to go and like study the history of their patient, but your transformation was so remarkable that I wanted to go back and see when did it really start, because in your head it was 18 months before, or maybe 2 years at most. But to me, it was a decade. And then understanding your trauma history and understanding the losses you've had and understanding the WWE fights you had in the backyard as a teenager. Like, how did all this occur? It all added up for me, and I was able to see it because you have this massive video catalog of your face.
I mean, we talked about it too. Even like now I can see it and look back and think, oh, well, that was messed up. Or dude, you look jacked up here. Even
with so much love.
No, it's okay. Like you gotta be, you gotta have grace, but at the same time, I have no problem being hard.
And
on
like
myself.
recognizing like, oh my gosh, you're right. Like, look at that. Like just in the picture you sent me, I was like, look at the swelling, look at the lip.
There's no sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
I was expletived up, you know?
Yeah.
I was messed up.
Feeling the word beep.
But I could see, you know, like looking back, I was like, dude, I can see my eyes not tracking properly.
100%.
And I think the big message that I would love to leave you with and everybody is obviously you talked a bit about the journey and the process and put in the reps. And I think because of me growing up with sports, that's always going to be relevant. And, you know, there was a thing from Kobe, how he would talk about move the needle a little bit each day, even if it's small. That's all that matters. But I think the important thing, similar to probably the retracing, is like there's going to be some days where you don't move the needle forward. There's going to be some days where it goes back a little bit. And I think that's important to just trust it and not get frustrated, because it is a long journey. And even now, you know, as I've come in less and less, as I've gotten better and better, there's still things, you know, even though I'm holding, I crunched my ribs and needed PEMF.
And life still keeps lifing, right? And that's the thing. It's like in chiropractic, you've probably heard this and you've probably experienced it, right? Where they'll say, well, once you see a chiropractor, you can never stop. Well, why would you want to?
Sure.
Do you want to continue to have a healthy nervous system and have your brain and body connected fully? Then you should probably keep seeing a chiropractor. Just like if you don't want to die, you should probably eat every day and drink water. So this isn't, to me, this isn't a luxury. It's a foundational piece. And I want everybody to understand that their nervous system is literally what runs the show.
Sure.
And you have proven that so incredibly in these last 2 years with just keep showing up, and no matter what the day looks like, hold on to the hope that things are going to get better, because they will.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I'll maybe end with right now for anybody listening is obviously at the end of the day, you know, I'm aware enough to understand that this is a business and the lights need to be turned on. But at the same time too, you know, it's a weird thing sometimes to come in and be like, yeah, you're fine. And you don't need an adjustment. And then also at that same token, we saw a lot of each other early on. Sometimes, I mean, there was 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week in that first phase. But also at the same time, you know, I think you do a really good job at, you know, it's almost like letting that patient go when it's time to fly, you know, like figure, like, but, you know, so there's not necessarily a pressure of like, come in every week, like you do it, you have grace. And then when we do get to spend time,
it's quality.
Yeah, it's quality. So I think I want to leave that where it's like sometimes, and especially in my experience with chiropractic places, it sometimes can feel like it's just like, okay, here's this package, or come in every week. And, you know, even if you may not need to, sometimes it feels like that, but you've done an amazing job of, you know, making me be here when I needed to be, and also being there when I need you. And even though it's less frequent, I never feel the pressure of, I don't feel the business pressure.
Right.
I think that's an important thing that I just want to end with.
I appreciate that. You know, Dr. Blair, I never got to meet him, but I met him through the work that he left as a legacy. And I thank and credit him for his commitment to the details and to being having integrity. And he is notably quoted as saying, basically, when you take care of the patient and what their needs are, you're going to be rewarded bountifully. And so that's the way that I live my life. When I go in and I meet my patient on the table, what is their need today? And what is the big picture? And what is the result that I want to see them get? Whether that's a 2-month care plan or a 10-month care plan, or I get to like have you under maintenance care, as long as you'll have me taking care of you and guiding you in that journey. My heart isn't, how am I going to pay my bills?
Sure.
My heart is, what can I do to service you today to make your nervous system function at its optimum so that you can live your life in alignment? And I have been rewarded bountifully. And that looks like this incredible office with these incredible women that I get to serve with, and thousands and thousands and thousands of patients that trust me with their care. So, and you help with that. Like you put your little videos out and then 30 people call. So thanks for making an impact that way, sir.
Hey, I'm just trying to return it any way I can, but it's just, it does mean a lot, you know, because it's, like I said, I think ultimately if I was closer here, I'd probably be here every week.
Yeah.
Just to
come hang out.
Yeah. I mean, I would be on the PEMF machine every week if I could.
Right.
That's the thing. Laser, I mean, it opened up the door for so many other things. And just like I said, there are so many other moving parts, whether it's physical therapy, diet, nutrition, brain vision therapy. I think that's one of the things that separates you again, is it's not just chiropractic. You do full body.
Yep.
There's supportive work. There's PMF. Now there's HBOT. There's laser. So
yeah, the hyperbaric has been a nice addition, and that came from the fact that I got into a car accident and had a concussion, and benefited from HBOT in my buddy's garage. And so I was like, wait, I could have this in my office, and now everybody has access to it. So it's a collaboration, and Blair is, in my estimation, the foundation, and everything else gets to be enhanced because of that foundation. And I love another thing that you've helped me do is open my network of paraprofessionals that I work with, whether that's a neurooptometrist or it's a physical therapist or a neurosurgeon. It's opening more realms for me to be able to have contact with professionals that may not know that Blair is even a thing. And so that's been fun to get to know you through the people you work with outside of Well Connected.
Yeah, I'm super lucky. I feel like I get to have an Avengers group of practitioners.
I love that.
And I'm going to be thankful every single day. But I think, even though this is an update and I feel like I'm finally starting to get to the other side, it also feels like in a lot of ways it's just getting started. So I think there's so many doors that aren't open yet, so many interactions and cross applications, and it really gets me excited, like you said, to introduce that vision therapy patient to you, or that physical therapy patient to you, and vice versa, just because I think there's a lot that hasn't been looked at yet.
Yeah, agreed. And I think circling back to the beginning of the conversation where we talked about capacity, you have the capacity to even dream bigger and take on new things, because you know that it's not going to wipe you out for a week.
Yeah.
And just being able to have the hope of being more creative in whatever way that looks like, whether that's through your tech stuff or through music or through helping connect doctors and patients to the right practitioner. That's a pretty incredible place to be, I'd say.
Freaking sick.
All right, buddy. You're the best.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming on my show again, dude.
Thanks for everything.
All right, brother. See you soon. Well, thanks for joining us on this episode with Jonathan Morrison, and I look forward to answering any questions, comments, concerns. Please hit the subscribe button, because we want to get this message out to as many people as possible. And you can find me at Well Connected Chiro or Hafer DC or any place that there is social media, because I got an amazing team helping me make that happen, Jonathan included. So until I'll see you next time.
Thanks for joining Dr. Hafer today on Well Connected. We trust something you heard brought you closer to the life you're meant to live. Because alignment isn't just about your spine, it's how you move through the world. So keep listening to your body, trusting your wisdom, and living your life in alignment. And above all, stay well connected.